And is Tony supposed to be here too?
Yes, I just spoke with him this morning and he's planning to be here short. He should be here any minute.
So we are live streaming, everybody.
Good morning, Tony.
Morning, everybody. Kristen, raise your left hand. I swear to tell the truth. Is it your left or your right this time?
It's my right.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Yeah.
Well, I've got.
Were you mountain biking or?
I was running. I know.
Have you seen those?
Are they the little track, like the little ice, like that you put on the bottom of your runners?
Yeah, they just they fit over, and they've got these little spiky things on them, and they've got a reflector on the back. So they're excellent. I got these ones in Costco, but I know you can get them. You can get them online. And I know the barn door's open and the horse is already bolted, but. Anyway, hope it gets better quickly for you.
Thank you.
I can see Sal and Melanie and Kristen, and I can see some guy that I don't recognize down in the corner here. It says admin.
Yeah, that's a new guy. He lives in Darcy.
Russell, it's been a long time since
I just talked to Vivian. Yeah. I just talked to Vivian, and she's actually going to chair the meeting because right at the moment, I don't seem to have enough bandwidth to get my other screen up.
Okay.
So we are live streaming, everybody, and I think I have Corporal Ben Feld here. I have a call in, so I'm going to admit this, and I believe this will be her. Hello, Corporal.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. We haven't quite called the meeting to order, but we'll be starting in a moment. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Hi, Vivian.
Are we ready to push the button?
Yes, to put it on the website?
Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you.
And making it live? Here we go.
Hi, Vivian.
Yes.
Will you be able to chair this, as I can't get my other screen working?
Can you hear me? I don't even know if I'm on mute or not here. Just a sec.
No, I can hear
Okay.
you.
Yes. Russell, I will be happy to, but I guess one of the challenges with Zoom is it's difficult to sort of look at your agenda and some of the materials at the same time as you're looking at the screen. And so you don't always easily see who wants to speak next. So maybe if people would pipe up or staff would help with that. So I don't, because that is a challenge for sure. And it's nice to see you on the screen, Russell. And everybody
Yeah,
else.
it's very exciting.
Everyone else too. And so in that case, I'll call the meeting to order, and I'd like to recognize that collectively we're on the unceded territories of all the First Nations within our regional boundaries. And the first item is to approve the agenda, and I understand that we have a late addition. Director Rainbow?
I was going to move approval of the agenda. I thought we dealt with that late thing when we get down to number 10, decision on late business.
Okay. Then maybe just remind me then when we get there. Would you like to move
Oh,
approval?
I will.
agenda?
So I'll move
Move.
approval of the agenda.
Okay,
I'll second it.
thank you. Moved and seconded. In favor? Any opposed? Carried. And we have the request for decision. CIO Melanie, would you like to discuss the resolution required pursuant to ministerial order number M192? Or just,
Thank you, Chair. I don't think we need to discuss it. Nothing's really changed of significance unless there were some questions.
We can just move that, can we, Melanie?
Yes, we can.
I'll do that. Move 3.1.
And I'll second it.
thank you. Moved by Director Rainbow, seconded by Director Mack. All in favor, none opposed, carried. So at this point, then we can welcome Denise Benfield, the acting sergeant for the Lillooet RCMP. A warm welcome to you. I think you're showing up on the screen as call-in user number 1. And I know you have a presentation. Would you like to have the screen shared? I will mute myself. Please go ahead and thank you for joining us.
Okay, I'm not sure what you can see because, of course, I'm on a phone and I don't know if someone's going to flip through the presentation. Is it up on the screen somewhere or?
It is, and we are looking at a picture of the Lillooet RCMP detachment with the junipers in front. So I think you want to go to the next slide.
Yeah, because those junipers aren't even there anymore.
I noticed that.
It's an old picture. So this is a presentation our analysts put together for me. So hopefully I'll be able to understand all of it. But so the first slide talks about or covers off our calls for service this year. We have a bit of a drop between April and July. And I think some of that's due to COVID. And then our numbers in the last few months have gone up. We're now, if you flip to the next slide, shows that we had a slight decrease in files last year, calls for service last year, and this year we're, when she did this report, we're at 1,653, so we're kind of on par to average out to probably have the same amount of calls for service as we did over the last couple of years, with like very little change in that regard. And our prisoner count this year, I don't actually have the count, but I had just done a prisoner review, and our prisoner numbers are down this year quite significantly, and I'm not sure if that's due to COVID, more people are staying home, or I'm assuming that's kind of one of the reasons why we've had a decrease. If we move over to the next slide, it talks about our different crime types. And some of these, I think, are a little bit skewed because with traffic offenses, it says we only have 4 here. So I'm not sure if those were chargeable, like accident, maybe motor vehicle accidents, because our violation charges and stuff is way higher than that amount. It shows that overall we've had a decrease in our, I guess this must be our charge approval files. I'm not really sure. I can say that the detachment, I don't have a slide on this, but the priorities for the detachment this year are pretty much the same as what they were last year, with traffic, crime reduction, and substance abuse. So with our traffic enforcement, of course, with COVID, made it a bit difficult for the members, and for a while we weren't doing the extra road checks and stuff like that because we were trying to, of course, social distance and have minimum contact with the public due to COVID. That's changed now, and so our members, how we've combated that is the members are now wearing their protective gear when they're stopping vehicles and doing their road checks and traffic enforcement. With our crime reduction, we have identified certain priorities, and we use our provincial tactical enforcement program to keep track of where our crime trends are and our prolific offenders. And we're also been monitoring substance abuse and just different drug and alcohol trends through enforcement and education.
I just wanted to interrupt you for a minute, Corporal, and ask on this slide, CDSA offenses. I didn't know what that meant.
Sorry, that's the Controlled Drugs and Substance Act.
Of
so
course.
Those are kind of those are all the drug offenses.
And the number of 6 is?
Yeah, unless these stats that Allison has here those are ones that were actually our conviction rate. I'm not sure. I didn't have a chance to talk to Allison to see where she pulled these numbers from. But if we flip over to the next slide, I think she's got more of the calls for service in the next couple slides, how many different files we've had. So on the person's violent crime, it shows that we don't have any arsons, and I think these are charges or for charge approval. I do know that we've investigated 4 arsons out on Highway 12 for sure, but no criminal charge approval was submitted, but violation tickets from the forestry were issued. 18 assaults this year so far. No extortion. 7 harassment. We have 2 sexual offenses and 5 uttering threats. These stats just show which have gone forward for where we've actually had charge approval on. On to the next slide for the property crimes. We have seen an increase in property crimes, reports of property crime. This doesn't really show I think it's probably because we're not getting the charge approval with regards to the relation of the amount of files that we've submitted to Crown. No arsons, 2 auto thefts this year, 19 bike thefts, 5 break and enters to businesses, 3 frauds, 22 mischiefs, 3 property stolen, 1 shoplifting, and 4 theft from vehicles. Like I said, again, these are quite down from the previous years. Some of them is because our file count in part of the year is down, but also our charge approval rating has gone down as well from Crown, and not sure why that is, to be honest. Next slide to the mental health occurrences. We have seen an increase in mental health related files this year, and again, not sure if that's related to COVID. People are having difficulty financially. They're also having difficulty staying home, social distancing, and it's causing some people some issues with depression and other things that go along with that. So we have seen an increase in those type of files. And then the last slide talks about our the illicit drug death rates. So the BC Coroner Service maintains the best source of information on the illicit drugs. We don't get, when there's overdoses, we're not necessarily contacted all the time or called because it's more of a medical call. So lots of times to get our stats or to kind of know what's going on, we do have a partnership with the hospital. Of course, for confidentiality, they don't release names and stuff, but do give us numbers of overdoses that they're seeing. We did this summer had 2 drug-related deaths, overdoses, in one in July and one in August. The main drugs that we're seeing in town is crack, cocaine, and meth. Meth has become a big problem. We seem to be seizing quite a bit of meth off of people when we're arresting them. So. And then just to talk a little bit about, I don't know if anyone has any questions on any of this. Sorry, I'm going kind of quickly.
It's okay. I sort of realized that you don't necessarily know who we all are either. I'm Vivian with Area B, so that's around Lillooet. But also on the phone is Sal Demare, who's Area A up by Goldbridge.
Okay.
We have Russell Mack, who's sort of the surrounding area of Pemberton, and Tony Rainbow down sort of south of Squamish. So
Okay.
the report is of most interest to Sal and I. Sal, do you have a question at this point?
No, not right now.
When I looked at Lillooet being right up there with Vancouver and Prince George, I did realize that a few deaths in Lillooet in the very small population that we have makes it look like a shockingly high statistic. It is still a shockingly high statistic, but.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I don't know if I do have confirmed the one overdose was a cocaine related. We're still waiting on the tox from the other overdose death that we had this summer. I do know that there's been a few other overdoses where people have obviously been brought back and prevented from dying, which was good. But like I said, we don't necessarily always get called to those because unless it's at someone's house and they think they're going to die or something, lots of times people will call just for an ambulance and we're not aware. So we do try and monitor that by having a relationship with the hospital. I wasn't able to pull up our stats on that from the APP, but I do know that every quarter is, we check those stats or compile those stats every quarter. So, and as for, just to get into just a couple little things about what the detachment has been doing thus far with COVID and everything else, our resources, obviously we had a change with the corporal. Corporal Katutis transferred out in September, and I took over from him. I got promoted. I was a constable here. So now we have a constable vacancy, which was my position, and I still have one member that's off injured. We have a new recruit coming this month, and so we're looking forward to him getting started. I think he starts on the 23rd, and then we should be up to full strength, but still having one member off hurt. We're hoping that he'll be back probably in January, and our sergeant is still off on sick leave. So we've been stretched a little thin. We've got a lot of young members at this detachment, but we're working through it, and they're very eager to be out there doing their job and working in the community. A couple good things that the members have done is they've been, in the schools now with good precautions with COVID, wearing the masks and stuff, but they were able to go and do safety talks for our Halloween with at the elementary schools, and there's age of consent and regarding sexual offenses, that presentation that Constable Love is working on right now to present at the high school. We do find that we have get some files like sexual assaults with young teenagers, 12, 13, 14. And a few years ago we did a age of consent, what consent meant, all around sexual offenses. We covered off sharing pictures, when they take pictures and send them nude photos of each other and send them on Snapchat and that they're actually creating child pornography. And I think it was quite eye-opening for the students, because they didn't realize that a lot of the things that they were doing, were actually criminal offenses. So it went over really well a few years ago, and we've seen after the presentation saw a decline in the sexual assaults from teenagers. And so we're in the Constable Love is planning right now with the school to do that presentation again to the younger students who haven't had it. So just to keep them more of an information presentation, and so they're aware, and we found that it helped with our calls for service in that regard. So
those presentations and that outreach in the communities with the young kids in the school is unbelievably valuable. It has so many good ripple effects. Thank you. And I think it makes the kids more likely to feel this is a friendly kind of force. And
yeah, absolutely. Like I did the presentation 3 years ago, and did it. We presented it to every student in the high school. I did 4 different presentations, and it went over really well. And I think they were surprised at what consent meant, and like consent, how that works when someone's intoxicated was one of the things we covered off. What the different criminal code offenses were with regards to sexual assaults, sharing of the big thing I think was their sharing of pictures, right? Because that's become a big trend on Snapchat and stuff, that girls are being coaxed to share photos of themselves, and guys share their pictures as well. And because they're all underage, they don't realize that they're actually creating and distributing child pornography when they're doing that. So it was very, very eye-opening for the students, that's for sure. And we did see a big decrease in sexual offenses being reported by students. So I'm hoping that meant that there was decline in the offenses occurring, and we just want to stay on top of that now that we're getting younger kids are now coming up. We just figure it's time to do it again to make sure that the 12, 13, 14-year-olds are aware as well, right?
That's very, very valuable. I'm really pleased, to see you back again. Congratulations on your promotion. It's very nice to see a woman in charge.
Thank you.
And
it's been a lot, and I'm sorry that I feel kind of scatterbrained with this presentation, and it's just over the last month or so, there's just been, with doing this job and the detachment commander job, it's been a lot, but hopefully the next time I do a presentation, I'll be more together, or I'll feel more together anyway.
we appreciate this today, and I see Director Demare has a question.
Yes. I'd like to know if you track how many times you come out to the Bridge River Valley and do patrols on Road 40. Do you keep any stats on that?
No, we don't.
Okay, yeah, I did have a meeting with, I won in a by-election in February, and I had a meeting with Corporal Peter Kutagas, and that was one of the things I talked about was, and he said at the time that the staffing level just didn't warrant it. You just didn't have enough staff to come out and do patrols. Just basically came out when it was required. So I know it looks like you're going to have another corporal coming up and the sergeant. Maybe when the sergeant comes back, I'll have that discussion with him. It'd be good just to be able to track that also for our area.
Okay, I'm not sure how we would actually track the members just patrol unless we had them. You documented every time they did a patrol out that way. I do know that the members do patrol, around town when they have their paperwork and stuff they have to do, obviously, and then the calls that they have to respond to. And then they do road checks and they patrol around the town and stuff like that. How often they patrol out to Bridge River, yeah, we don't track that. And I would agree with Corporal Katutis that it's probably, given how short we've been and that it's not something that the members are doing regularly, if at all, except for when they actually get a call out that way. I can send an email around and ask the members to, include Bridge River in their patrol, in their regular patrols, and to keep track of something like that, so we kind of had an idea of how often that they were going out to Bridge River. Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just, yeah. We know that with the social media nowadays, as soon as the RCMP are in our valley, that everybody knows.
Yeah, except for there's not, well, I guess they have Wi-Fi. There's not a lot of social media out in Bridge River, but.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, that's true. I do know when we head out to Goldbridge, it definitely gets around quite quickly. I'm actually surprised with the no cell service out there, how quickly it gets around that the police are in town.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had one more question, Denise, and maybe it'd be more for a presentation next time, but we're very pleased to have the tribal police here and the First Nations officers and also the Friendship Center. I hope you have strong partnerships with both of those institutions.
Absolutely. We have great relations with both the Friendship Center and tribal police. Our members work well together. We're each other's backup. We go to calls together. It doesn't matter whether it's in our area or in their area. We respond together. And just a case in point, we had a call up the Duffy, and three tribal members were on scene there with us, and it turned out it was way in Pemberton's area, so we had Pemberton members there as well. But we definitely have a really good working relationship with tribal, and I hope we maintain that for the future, for sure, because it benefits both of us, right?
Yes, I know your resources are pretty scarce, and I know Mayor Bussey is really lobbying to support you being fully staffed and anything else that he can do. And I work with him, and certainly as Area B, think of me too. If Mayor Bussey is doing something that's helpful for you guys, I can probably assist as well.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm just trying to see if there's any other comments from any of the other oh, I see. Yep, go ahead, our Director Rainbow.
Off mute. But more sort of a curiosity more than a question. We try to promote tourism through the whole of the regional district. I wonder if you experience what I would call criminal tourism, with people sort of doing the circuit and starting in Lillooet and then driving all the way down through the sea to Skye and stopping off and doing things as they go. And if that is an issue, what is your relationship with the detachments in Whistler and Squamish?
I haven't really seen that kind of trend here. And we don't actually have much of a relationship with Squamish and Whistler, just because they're in a different district. When there's crimes like traveling, we'll call it traveling crime that occurs, which it does occur for sure. Our analyst, Allison Tremblay, out of the district office, she monitors stuff like that, and she keeps us all informed in the district, and that being Southeast District. So if something's going on in Ashcroft or Linton, Clinton, Kamloops, or that we're having an offender kind of traveling around the areas or coming from Kamloops out to Lillooet, we're aware of that, and we're pretty good too sharing information between just even our detachments between Ashcroft and Linton, and we work quite closely with Linton as well. The members, we're back and forth. We're on the same channel, so we know what's usually going on in Linton, and they know what's going on here. But and the stuff's tracked in our district, but unfortunately, Whistler and Squamish are not in our district, and they're on a different server, and it's really difficult for us to actually access their files. Even we have to do a different query and then send off a request for the files. So I'm not sure if that's how we could improve that, I guess.
Just
because we don't have that relationship with that side of the mountain for sure.
If I could just follow up, I wonder if that's something that the regional district should pay some attention to, whether it's something we can do which would improve that situation.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we could. I'm sure we do get people. We definitely get traffic through Lillooet and people coming into Lillooet from Pemberton, Whistler area for sure. But no, we don't. If they have something coming our way, they'll send us a BOLF. We'll get a BOLF about it. But other than that, I don't know of any other kind of crime trends or crime spree sharing that we do with that area. So maybe it's something even maybe our analysts, because they'd have their own analysts as well, can work on that. They're sharing information so it's getting out to all of us. Might be a good idea.
I have to say I'm an avid consumer of police shows on television, but I've never come across BOLF. Could you translate that?
Oh, I'm sorry. It'd be on the lookout for.
Oh,
sorry, that's police jargon, but yeah. So if say I have a possible impaired driver that has left Lillooet, and there's no chance that I'm going to be able to catch up to him, and I know that he's heading towards Ashcroft, I'll send out, be on the lookout for this vehicle and the details. And we will get them from Squamish or Mount Currie, Pemberton, if they're coming this way over the Duffy. We get that kind of information, and it's sent through CPIC, which is our complete police status system, right? But other than that, I don't know of us getting any other, like, reports of people that are on crime sprees or anything like that from that area. We get them within our own district, but not from the Lower Mainland district.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Maybe on that note, I'll just say thank you very much for your presentation, and we hope to hear from you again in the future. We do have a Northern Economic Development Committee, which is a subcommittee of this SLRD board. Well, this is the EAD here today, but the Lillooet District Council has a membership on that committee, and that might be a committee to present to in future, because in the area that you're working in. That's just a thought. But for today, I appreciate the time and thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, have a good day.
Best to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wouldn't that make more sense for the presentation to be maybe to the NETIC committee in the future? It's a thought.
No,
You'd like to think. We do hear from Pemberton and Squamish and the other RCMP divisions from time to time. I'm glad to hear from this one today. So the next item is the consent agenda.
Chair, may I just say, in response to your question about whether it was worthwhile, yes, I think it is worth all of us hearing what that. I'm sorry, I forgot the name. Sergeant Bennett had to say.
Denise Benfeld.
And I think, it did raise that. In my mind, it raised that question about what is the communication throughout the whole region, and that's something we maybe do want to pay attention to. So, if I hadn't heard that presentation, I might not have had that thought. So, I think it's worthwhile.
Yeah, the Duffy is pretty much no man's land. You do not see patrols or RCMP up there very often at all. It's a problem, but yeah. Okay. Would someone like to move the consent agenda?
Sure.
I thought so.
I'll move that.
Okay, moved and seconded, opposed, all in favor, carried. And then item 6, business arising from the minutes. I don't believe there is any. So we move on to item 7, staff reports and other business. Sorry, CAO verbal update 7.1, over to you. CAO.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing to report today.
Okay. In that case, 7.2, the information report, General Select Funds, the history, and thank you for doing that work. That was a very interesting report. Would somebody like to speak to it? I'll just try and bring it up on my screen.
Hi there. Do you want me to speak to the report? Sorry. Yeah.
Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning.
Welcome. Welcome. We just got to General Select Funds. And yes, please.
So there are limited records available for past historical spending of the General Select, and I wasn't able to really drill down into what the past resolutions and what the past policy was for General Select. What I could piece together was that the portal identification came through the board around 2004. I can't find the resolution though, but that's when it first popped up in the select funds reports and in the budget as well. And so I have a feeling it was tied to the same policy which is the BC Hydro Payments in Lieu policy, which used to be called the Crown Corporation's Grants policy. But we can't find the earlier iterations of that policy either. So basically, I just gave a little bit of information of what some past General Select resolutions were, and some information on what the EAD delegation bylaw currently states about what these select funds can be used for. There isn't a specific classification. It just basically says it has to benefit the community or any aspect of the community for capital or operating purposes. So if the EAD committee wishes to, they could put a stricter classification on what the select funds could be used for. That's up to the EAD committee. And if there's any questions on the report, I'll try to answer them.
Sal, Director Demare?
Yeah, this is very good. It's too bad that we couldn't drill back farther into it, but just in your little table there, some of the resolutions, what does RRM mean?
Oh, regular meeting. So that's the regular board meeting. They used to call, everything had RRM in front of the resolutions in the past. So I just kept it there. But it's a regular board meeting. Okay.
So I did look at the budget for it, and it looks like every year it increases by $10,807. And you know, there's a bit of money in it now. I can't remember now, about 70,000, and some of it is allocated to the portal. But so the rest of it, how does it get shared amongst the different areas that can use it? There's nothing that identifies how that remaining portion gets used.
Mm-hmm. My best guess is that it's for regional public service. So the portal identification being available for every area. But that's something that the EAD committee might want to put into the delegation bylaw potentially, or even when the BC Hydro PILT policy is opened up to review if they want to specify what General Select should be used for. Because I think the idea was that it just be used for regional initiatives. But that's just my best guess.
That made sense. Well, sorry, Sal, go ahead.
Yeah, I look at the one in 1998 for the provide enhanced legal access to Anderson Lake and Seton Lakes. So, you know, would that be, I guess that would be Area C and Area B.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my interpretation of that too.
Yeah, and I see there's in 2006 community wildfire protection plans, 31,000 went out. So I presume that would be for two or more of the regional districts or the area.
Mm-hmm. At that point, we didn't really have an emergency. I think we just started to build the emergency management cost center. So yeah, I think that kind of relays into now those fire protection plans, and all of the mitigation is through the emergency planning function. But I think at that time there wasn't that function.
Okay. Yeah, I think we, you know, with the EAD committee, that we should look at it and decide, you know, when it comes up for the PILT funding review, that we look at this and decide how, and just make something there that we know what we can use it for.
Yeah. Director Rainbow.
I think there are two separate things there. One is that the whole issue of PILT funding has to be reviewed at some point. I think we're overdue for that review. Is that not right, Suzanne?
I'm sorry, I don't know if it's overdue or not.
It was due to be reviewed in 2019, according to some of the other documents I looked at.
Yeah, so that's one issue. But then if we, prior to that review, if we just look at what we have on the books right now, my understanding is that the EAD committee has the authority to do what it wants to do with this general account, that we could discuss it and by resolution at this meeting, make some changes to it or make some determinations as to how it should be spent. Am I correct there, or?
Yeah, and it just has that stipulation that from the EAD delegation bylaw, which just has to benefit the community or any aspect of the community. So that's the only real stipulation.
So if we wanted to put this on an agenda, or if somebody wanted to go away and come back with a recommendation to the four of us, how we should use this general, we can do that. Whereas when we come to the review of the whole PILT funding, that becomes a board issue. So we don't want to lose sight of the fact that we do have some authority, and that we can use it.
I hear you loud and clear. I was thinking, once we've established that there aren't any sort of rules or guidelines around this that we didn't understand. You know, we know at one point there was 10,000 for each area earmarked for portal. And I remember going, what the heck are we talking? Oh, signage as you come into the area. Oh, okay, I can use that. And it's been used in area A already, and that's why it's zero there. But we can move those funds in the select fund. And I thought, well, if we have things in common, like two things come to mind, those Facebook ads where we were all throwing in small amounts of money towards the Facebook around the food bank promotion, or each year, I think we all contribute $1,000 from each area towards the Whistler Center for Sustainability, if I have the title correct. And, you know, maybe that could come out of the general select funds. It's worth discussing a little bit more. And I like it that some of the guidelines on these select funds are really flexible, and so it can be adapted and used in each area as each director sees best fit. I mean, our areas are so different. I think that's a real benefit of this fund. So now we know what is known, at least, about that fund. So thank you very much, Director Demare.
Yeah, I look at that that video that we're looking at, that the staff is looking at the feasibility of, would be perfect for this.
Yeah, some things that benefit us that we have in common. Yes. And you're right, it does increase by about $10,000 a year. And so it would be great to do some good things with it. Any other questions for Suzanne or comments? Motion to receive the report by Director Demare, seconded by Director Mack. In favor, opposed, carried. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Oh, here come the A's. The A team.
The A team, right.
Welcome, Angela and Allison.
Thank you.
Good morning.
That we are looking at item 7.3, Electoral Area B, the Texas Creek Proposed Regional District Park. Thank you for your report. Would you like to speak to it a little bit, or what's the wish of the committee?
I have a small update to the report since we sent out the agenda. I did hear back from Coast to Cascades more formally, and they reiterated that they had concerns with regard to grizzly human conflict through that area because it is such a threatened population. That's all I really had to add to the report.
I'm sad to say that the current state of affairs with the idea of this park is that it is no longer an idea as far as the SLRD goes. And I really appreciate the time both of you put into it. I feel like it's an opportunity lost. It's a spectacular piece to protect and call a park. But I hear loud and clear from Tribal Council, Sequowash, Chief Michelle, and Coast to Cascades, some very strong, powerful, reasonable objections. And so, as Michelle said, she would like the idea to disappear. So I actually like to make, well, first of all, we should accept your report. And I will move to do that. And a seconder being Director Rainbow, all in favor, opposed, none. So that report's received. But based on that report, for Area B, I'd just like to have the references to the Texas Creek Park removed from my strategic or aspirational plans, but also there's an entry in the PILT budget of $20,000 and it's attached to the Texas Creek Park. And so I would also like to have that removed from our record and the money returned to the general PILT Area B fund. And I would need a seconder for that motion. Okay, and I see maybe Chris, go ahead. And then
sorry to interrupt. So that will just be a recommendation to the board, correct? Because PILT funds are controlled at the board table.
So a recommendation to the board then that the references to Texas Creek Park and any budget items attached to Texas Creek Park be removed. And I think Director Rainbow was going to.
That's fine.
Yeah. Any objections? Okay, that's carried. Yeah, that was a very powerful email, both from Johnny Mikes and also from Michelle Edwards. And certainly we were on the call with Tribal Council and it was not ambiguous at all. So we'll turn our attention to some other things like the Seton Park. How about that? Thank you. Are you here for the next item? No. Oh, yes. 7.4. Clean BC organic infrastructure and collection.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Remove. And Patricia will join this as well because they assisted in putting together the report on the Clean BC grant. So the report that you see in front of you is just an opportunity for the EAD to see the details regarding the Clean BC infrastructure and collection program grant and highlight some potential projects that could align with the funding. The opportunity just arose at the end of October, so it was a bit of a quick turnaround in which to get the information in front of the board or in front of the EAD today. But within the report, you'll see an outline of the grant. The grant applications open as of November 10th and close January 12th or 14th, depending on the stream that's being applied for. And there's two funding streams that are available. There's the organic processing infrastructure stream and the residential curbside collection stream. And the SLRD was successful in receiving some Clean BC grant funds in 2020 in regards to sea to sky soils and the expansion of their site. So we are familiar with this program, and we have been successful in receiving some funds through it. Within the report, you'll see that there are 2 projects that were identified, one of them being the Lillooet landfill, and the second being Goldbridge Transfer Station. So when the grant did come out, we started looking at the sites that do require more diversion as far as organic waste is concerned. And the Lillooet landfill currently accepts yard waste, but not household organics. So we started to look into that one because certainly Lillooet landfill is a priority for us based on the solid waste management plan. And so when we started looking at that project, we quickly established that prior to applying for such a grant opportunity, it would be helpful to do a feasibility study so that we had an idea as to what sort of opportunities are available there. So staff reached out to the District of Lillooet, who had expressed some interest in this Clean BC grant as well. And we've had some preliminary discussions with them around partnering on a feasibility study. And that's outlined in the report around what that could look like, because they're currently doing a biosolids management plan. And so we'd be able to piggyback on some of the work that they've already done on the diversion at that site and partner on a feasibility study. So that was one of the project opportunities that we saw there. And in speaking with finance, since the writing of the report, it did come to our attention that there are some reserve funds within Cost Center 1300 that could be applied to a feasibility study for that site. So that was one of the projects that were highlighted in the report. The other project is the Goldbridge Transfer Station, and we looked at different options there. One of them being an in-vessel technology, and what that technology is was outlined in the report, as well as an estimated project budget for that site. So the actual infrastructure for that site that would be eligible under the grant was the actual in-vessel technology, which is about $103,000. And so the cost share for Area A for that type of project would be $34,333. And then there's other costs associated with just the operations, as well as one-time fees, which are outlined in the report as well. So those are kind of the 2 projects that we were able to identify in short order in which to turn it around and bring it to EAD for consideration. So are there any questions? There's a lot of information in that report.
It's good.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
I'm just waiting for Sal to go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angela. Did you do any type of feasibility study, or will we need that for the Goldbridge area?
Yeah, Director DeMera, I think the Goldbridge one is an interesting one because, as you can see, if we move towards in-vessel technology, it is incredibly expensive. Like, even from an operating perspective, we are looking at almost $25,000. So I think it would be diligent for the SLRD to also look at what are some other options for some of those smaller rural areas on cost-effective solutions around dealing with organics, and reaching out to the community and getting a better understanding as to what they are currently doing, because we have some ideas that there may be doing some backyard composting in which to deal with it. But I think in order to inform moving forward in that area, we have to have a better idea as to, and possibly do a waste audit so that we can see how much organic waste is being put in garbage, and come up with some cost-effective solutions for those areas. And I mean, up until even yesterday, Marie Lou was on the phone with some areas trying to figure out what it is that they're doing. And the District of Nelson just did a really interesting pilot project on some in-house composters, and they just finished gathering a lot of detail. And I mean, I can pass it over to Marie Lou if you'd like to hear a little bit more about that program, but there's some really innovative stuff that's starting to come out that may work really well for those smaller communities, because obviously an in-vessel technology infrastructure piece is expensive.
Yes, I actually looked at this at a drum, rotating drum, and I found some literature on it about 3 years ago. And I actually talked about it when that other big project down on the Sea to Sky was proposed for that funding. And so I've definitely looked at it, and a lot of the full-time people actually have little composters, as we do. But it's also a bear track then. So there's pros and cons to having them at your house. And that's one of the reasons why I looked at the drum style composter for landfill. I think definitely you have to have a survey because our full-time population isn't that much. But we do have the non-resident property owners that come up during the summer. And then we also have all the tourists and visitors that come up. So we'd have to, and of course our transfer station is only open in the summer 3 times a week. So yeah, I think a feasibility study or survey would definitely have to be done. And I'm sure that down the road that this funding will probably come back again.
Yeah, I agree. I think we will see an opportunity in the future around that, and any feasibility studies that we do in preparation will help set us up really well for those opportunities. Similar to what was written in the report around the Lillooet landfill, once we have a feasibility study in place, we'll be able, and those partnerships, because with the District of Lillooet and neighboring communities, it will set us up really well for future grant applications, such as Clean BC or the Canada Innovation Program grant. So we're starting to see more opportunities around that. We're starting to see more innovation and cost-effective innovation, but I think you're correct. We do need to do a little bit more outreach into our communities to see what's currently being done. We've done waste audits at almost all of our sites, and we're just gathering that information right now from the consultants, and that will help inform how we move forward in each of those areas as well.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Mary Lou, did you want to add something about this project? And hello and welcome.
Hi. No, I think Angela did give you all the information that was highlighted in the report. We keep looking at any new technology that is coming in the market. I did reach out to the ministry this morning, and I did highlight my concern about the small areas that we have within the SRD, and how even like outside the box, like the in-vessel technology, it's still very, like, cost is so high that sometimes it's not cost effective for us. And that their curbside program, because they are requiring to have the curbside collection with any kind of technology that you can bring for the areas like area A and B, doesn't make sense to have curbside collection. So I did raise my concern, and she took my, she was And she told me that she will bring that information to her director as well. So keep that in mind, that for our small areas, we still need solutions, but sometimes the grant funding is kind of limited to what we can do. But we are looking at other technology, and I will bring more information to Angela and to the board in the near future, for sure.
Thank you. We would like to be like cutting edge in this field. Well, so let's start with areas A and B, and then we can work down from there. So I have a motion for some funding to be allocated, but I see Suzanne is still here. Is there something, Sal, is there something more in the budget number 1300 that can be allocated for some work? Is it practical to try and look into both here? Is there something you'd like to propose for area A, Sal? Or are we just leaving it with staff where we're at the moment? And I can go ahead with my motion for area B.
Okay, I can make a motion that that staff look into a feasibility study for
Survey,
area A.
just look into it.
Yep.
Okay. I can second that. In favor, opposed, carried. And I have a motion that funding of up to $10,500 be allocated from cost center 1300, reserve funds for Lillooet landfill composting feasibility study in partnership with the District of Lillooet. Is that seconding?
Second.
Director Rainbow, thank you. And I see Russell Mack waving as well. Okay. Anyone opposed to that? That motion is carried. That's terrific. And another exciting aspect of this is that Houston is working with the District of Lillooet, and they already do partner with the District of Lillooet on operations at the landfill, and they're interested in this opportunity too, which will possibly make our application stronger and will be pretty exciting for all of us up here. So, thank you. Yes.
Two things. When I lived in Surrey, before they started doing their curbside organics collection, I had one of those big revolving drum composters, and it was fantastic. And I never used to buy soil for my hanging baskets because I produced it all myself. So they really are a good system. And it may be what we need. I know there was a conversation a while ago regarding electric fences to protect orchards and gardens, and maybe that's something we could do on in terms of education on a regional way to, because if you are living even here in the Furry Creek area, there are we have bear issues, so that's maybe something we could look at. And I just have one comment. No disrespect whatsoever to the other names on the report, but I was so glad to see Jeanette Naden's name on there and know that she's back working with us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. From our committee in general, yeah, we were happy to see Jeanette's name there on that report. Thanks, all of you guys. I think we're done with that one. Ah, 7.5, request for decision, advancing the SLRD asset management work. A.O. Helmer.
Thank you, Chair. Suzanne LaFrance is here available to talk to this one.
Okay, so this report touches on a couple just different things we need to clarify. The first recommendation is around the usage of general government funding for this asset management grant. So there was a resolution to start a request for all these different infrastructure grants. And one of them was for asset management, and it was to engage the services of a consultant to develop an asset management framework. So we did put together the grant, and we were successful in gathering the grant. And however, when we did the RFP, all of the costs came back very high. So the total grant project was supposed to be $10,000. And looking at the resolution, it just stated using funds from general government. But because the funding was so much higher than anticipated, I wanted to bring it back to just clarify how much funding we should be using. And so when we were talking about the RFP and what we should do based on the results, the proposals received, we decided to trim down the scope just to the gap analysis. So basically this grant is now for just reviewing our information and where our gaps are and where we should focus, basically, in order to continue advancing our asset management and start the framework and strategy. So that new scope brought down the costs for the whole project. And that's why I recommended that we use gas tax funds for this versus general government funds, as general government funds would be taxation. Gas tax funds can be used for asset management. So that's the first resolution request. Basically, instead of using general government for an unknown amount, we'll cap it at 10,000 for this gap analysis work on asset management and use the gas tax community works funds divided evenly between all areas, because it will basically all areas will benefit from this grant. And then the second and third recommendations just also revolve around the usage of gas tax funds in order to advance our asset management program. So the province is now reviewing each local government's asset management progress, and they're reviewing it through the LGDEs. And so the first reporting on asset management was done in 2019. We didn't have a lot of information to report. So we do have a lot of work to do on asset management. And so this recommendation basically allows us to continue our asset management work, use gas tax funds, which are applicable to asset management work. And this way it'll be easier for the EAD to find projects that are applicable, because asset management is applicable, and it also keeps the funding for gas tax within the SLRD versus trying to find projects to fund. And so with the new hire, so in I think it was June or July, the board approved a new hire for the financial department, and they'll be reviewing all of the granting available for asset management. So this community gas tax fund will only be used when there's no grant available or other funding available to be used. And the new position will also prepare reports to the EAD, letting them know if there is an instance where they would request using gas tax community works funds for advancing asset management. So it's basically, we'll still request the usage, but this recommendation will just allow us to further our asset management practices, because they do look like it will be expensive processes to get to where we need to be in asset management. And that's just a really concise version of this report. But if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you. Director Rainbow.
First of all, I'll say that I completely support this. I think it's a good idea, and I'm assuming that if we, I think we have to take it to the board, do we not? But once it's approved, you wouldn't have to come back to us every time you wanted to get a few dollars out of the the Community Works Fund. It would allow you to just do that as needed as we move forward.
That's also an option as well. I think we would still want to let everybody know before we use the funds, just as a courtesy. So the new hire, I'm hoping that the new hire happens soon, but we don't have a signed agreement yet.
Okay.
But the new hire would be responsible for just preparing little reports on what we're looking at, and if we don't find granting available, we'll be requesting it from the EAD.
Okay, my second question, Chair, if I may. While I support it 100%, I'm just wondering if that's the fair way of doing it, because gas tax funds are allocated to the 4 areas on a percentage basis. I get, I think, 27%. It's not an equal share, the allocation. So I don't think this would be that much more work, because it'd only have to be done once. Just establish what the percentage is for contributing to this particular expense, rather than us all paying 2,500. It's a relatively small amount, but it's the principle. I think the areas A and B shouldn't have to be paying as much, and I think Russell should be paying more because he gets the biggest share. So that's something that I just throw out for consideration.
And that is possible. We can, instead of dividing it equally, we can just divide it based on the proportion already set for what each area receives annually.
So I would move that as an amendment if there's interest in that.
Maybe could we hear from Director Demare? Just.
Thank you. Yeah, Tony, that's exactly what I've got in my notes, is that Area A only receives about 38,000 a year in the community gas tax funding. And, you know, I'm going to be spending some of that on the Braylorn, what I have in there right now on the Braylorn resurfacing the pavement. So it starts limiting me. So the other question I've got is, in your second recommendation, is that the future costs associated with asset management program development activities, such as but not limited to building an asset management strategy and asset management framework. So this is all the preliminary work. The actual on the ground building that asset management plan is a whole nother topic. Am I correct?
Yeah, so with regional districts, asset management plans are tricky. Within municipalities, they can have one asset management plan because they have one service area. But with the regional district, I'm anticipating that we'll have to do multiple plans, and it'll be specific to areas. So that will be within the third recommendation. So when the asset management work touches on all regions, so looking at all of our data, looking at when it's not specific to an area, that's when that second recommendation would be used. So it'll be everybody either shared equally or shared based on their proportion of gas tax funds that they receive already. But then specific asset management plans will be per area as I see it. And then that will be used as each specific area's gas tax funds will be analyzed for that. Does that make sense?
Yep, kind of. Is there any way we, like, I haven't been part of this going back, so this is kind of new to me. I'm familiar with asset management, but is there any way we could, is there a presentation or something to look at to see what it's actually going to look like in the end?
No, I have no idea what it's going to look like in the end yet, unfortunately. It's all very preliminary work. We just really started getting into asset management at the SLRD.
Okay.
I think I am convinced by your report that this is a valuable thing to do. And I really liked the third that this future costs be funded using available service funding within the granting up for the specific electoral area where the subject asset is located. Because I see that we have considerable assets in some areas and not in others. And so to me, it seems very fair that the work of compiling all the information about those assets be charged to the area where the assets exist. That makes a lot of sense to me. I'd actually like to proceed sort of with that approach right from the get-go. But I'm okay as well with sharing, if you mean up to $10,000 shared 4 ways, that is also fine with me. But I'm not comfortable with leaving it open-ended. So those are my comments. Director Mack?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that when the programs are done for each area should be paying for the asset management in their area. It shouldn't be area A or area B paying for asset management and C or D or whatever. No, that should be specific to the area.
Director DeMare?
I'm in full favor of the asset management strategy. It's definitely needed, and but I like Tony's amendment also.
So when we're talking about Tony's amendment, is that just pertaining to the first that in terms of divvying up the $10,000? And does that make sense to everybody? Yeah.
The first 2 that's. The first one, it specifies $10,000. And in the second that, it says allocating an equal portion to all 4 electoral areas. So I don't think it should be an equal portion. I think it should be a proportionate to the allocation. And if you looked at Suzanne's report on the Community Works Fund, those percentages are clearly stated, so it'd be very easy to apply them. So my motion would be that we amend the first 2 that's from equal share to proportionate shares.
And then leave the third one.
I think it has to be dealt with separately. I don't want to amend.
Okay. So that's a motion to that effect as amended. Is that fine with you, Kristen? That's okay, seconded by Director Mack. Kristen gave me sort of a nod, so.
Sorry, so that's the first, we're talking about the first, the second that, the first that is that it be recommended to the regional board, but the next that is the resolution that we're dealing with alone right now, correct?
I think the first 2 that's, I'm not moving them, I'm just moving an amendment to them that they're not equal shares.
And I don't think we need an amendment to them because I don't have that we've moved them. So we're just revising the wording so that it says a proportionate share instead of an equal portion.
So,
okay. And a proportionate share is understood based on the proportions we receive for the gas tax. That makes sense. Is everybody good with that part for the first? Okay. And I think that was already moved by Tony, seconded by Russell. Anyone opposed to that?
So is that carried?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so with those 2 changes, I would move all 3 that's.
Okay, so the future costs beyond 10,000. Am I looking at the right one? Oh, no, okay. future costs.
Oh,
So
I guess it's for the.
there's 4, yeah, because
Well,
we're
it's
forgetting that
recommended to
there's
the
the first
regional
one.
board. We're recommending all those 3 major paragraphs to the regional board. So that's what I want to move.
So we've already carried the first that with the revision discussed, the proportionate share. So now we just have the next 2, let's call them the last 2 that's to deal with.
Okay, so that's what I'll move.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'll second that.
okay. In favor, opposed. All right. And then we need a motion for the third one, the final.
No, we've just done that.
Have we done that as well?
Yeah.
Future costs associated with be funded using available. Okay. So when it goes beyond that, then we will be billing to the specific electoral area where the subject asset is located. Okay. I would have liked to have done that all the way through, but there we go. And yeah, I think it's great that staff will sort of advise us as those costs. These can be monstrous projects, right? And we're still talking about just this gap analysis, Suzanne, or are we talking about the, yes. Okay. Thank you. And should I move on to the next item? Number 8. Britannia Beach Landscaping, Director Rainbow, 8.1.
Yeah, I'll move that we approve 15,900 from Area D Select funds to cover a specific project that staff are well aware of.
Seconded by Director Demare. Oh, no, question, Sal, or seconding? So the process is I should have a seconder and then give an opportunity for questions and comments. And then ask for anyone opposed. Okay, in favor, carried. Thanks.
Jolly good, thank you.
And 8.2, Director Rainbow, Squamish Library.
No, 8 point, oh, sorry, I'm looking, my thing's bobbing around. Yes, I've consulted with Suzanne and discovered that Community Works or gas tax funds can be used for buildings, and that because it's owned by the District of Squamish, that's something we can cooperate with, and so they need about 150,000 altogether. They have 50. My wording in my report, which I'm going to make sure that Mayor Elliott gets, is that I'll match what the District of Squamish does. So if the District of Squamish has been asked for 50,000, and if they approve that, then I'm prepared to match it. But if District of Squamish only puts in 25, then I'm not going to put in more than them. So that's why the wording is up to 50,000. So I'll move that.
And
I'll second that.
okay, seconded by Director Mack. Melanie, you had a question?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I just wanted to mention that for gas tax agreements with third parties, we do need to include as part of anything we put forward that we have to have an agreement between the third party and the SLRD in place as part of the gas tax agreement. That captures the requirements that the third party has to do in order to ensure we can comply with the reporting and be able to provide those gas tax funds without risk to the SLRD. So we need that agreement and the authorization so that I can execute the agreement with the third party.
So do you need a separate motion for that, Melanie?
That can be a separate motion, yes, because this one's already on the floor.
Okay, well, I will move the wording that you suggest is accurate.
Kristen?
Sorry. So the motion that we've seconded, Director Rainbow, so we are not to release that money until you, like, how do you want that captured?
Well, we need to be talking to staff at the District of Squamish. It hasn't gone to their council yet, I think, or it may have done. It may have gone this week. It's pending. So when they make if we can communicate with them that when they make a decision about the amount they're going to give, that we have a motion which will allow us to match it up to that amount. I mean, if they decide they want to go 100,000, no, I don't want to go up to that. I'll still just do the 50. But if they're less than 50, then we'll be less than 50.
So we want to put some matching wording into that resolution.
Oh boy, what did I put in my report? I'll just have a look here. Oh, I can't find it.
And this is a recommendation to the board, so it will be going to the board in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that wording of the motion is what I had in my report, and I just got some things understood underneath it. So if some of that should be, if we need a motion for that, then, because I've said the final amount depends on decisions by District of Squamish Council. So what do you suggest? That I should craft a motion that captures those things that I've said are understood? Would that do?
Yeah, I think we often have the wording about conditional upon the District of Squamish providing matching funds, and then we have the up to 50. So you're limited to 50 and subject to District of Squamish providing at least matching funds or something like that.
Can I propose something?
Sure.
To approve from Area D gas tax funds an amount matching the District of Squamish contribution and up to a maximum of $50,000 be given to the Squamish Library for renovations to its existing facility.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Okay.
But what about the other comment you made, Melanie, about the necessity to have an agreement with them? Does that need to be captured in the motion as well?
Yes, it does.
Was it then, or maybe I misunderstood?
Not yet.
We could just add that it's not in there yet, but we could add, if you're agreeable to moving that a gas tax agreement be executed for this project with the applicant and the SLRD, and the CAO be authorized to execute.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
It's being moved by Director Rainbow, seconded by Director Mack. In favor, opposed, carried.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay with that wording, Kristen?
Yes, I think I have it as that second part was an amendment, and so we should call the question on the main motion. Because I did have it moved and seconded, and then we had a discussion, and then we amended it by adding the matching wording and the extra agreement wording. So if we could just call the question on the main motion with the, we just passed the amendment, then I think we're there.
Okay, so we just approved the amendment. Thank you. And now we need to approve the main motion. Moved by Director Rainbow, seconded by Director Demare. All in favor, opposed, carried.
And what I just learned from that is that if I were to do this a little bit earlier, to give Melanie a chance to give me some feedback. We could have worked all that out before we got to the meeting. So that's one that came in very late, and I will note that in future, because it would be simpler if I crafted the motion properly to start with. So, but thank you very much for your patience and your input.
We're making progress. Pinecrest Estates, Director Rainbow, item 8.3.
Yeah, this one's a little easier because we own that wastewater treatment system, and so we don't need to get into agreements with anybody else. But you'll see the second part here. We approved $16,000 a while ago from Area D Select funds to buy, I think it was going to be originally just one grinder pump. And in conversation with Ed and with Suzanne and then with Angela, I found out that we actually need to approve, we need to replace 34 of these things. And the plan was we would do 2 or 3 a year, which, you know, my math says that's going to take 10 years or more. So when I discovered that we could use gas tax money for that, I thought that it would be better for everybody if we replaced all 34 pumps at the same time. So that's where this has come from. And so if that is approved here and referred to the board, then the $16,000, which hasn't been spent yet, but which is allocated from my Select, can be returned to Select so I can use it somewhere else.
Kristen?
Thank you. I have just two quick comments. First of all, I'll ask for 2 separate resolutions because the first one is a recommendation to the board.
Yep.
And the second one will be dealt with here at the AD. And my second question is does the up to 200,000 include staff time?
It's a number that I got from staff, so you'd have to ask them that. Angela?
Yeah. So,
hi, Angela.
Oh, sorry. Yes, that amount will cover our contractor, the actual pump, and any contracted staff associated with electrical, but does not include SLRD staff time. We'll work that into a project plan and moving forward. So we have already worked on replacing 2 of them, and based on that, it shouldn't take too much staff time in which to roll them out.
Thank you.
So Director Rainbow, did you want to change the wording at all in that?
No, the first one, up to 200,000 be allocated from Area D gas tax account. That's a referral to the board. So I'd like to move that.
Okay, Sal is seconding that. And Director Mack, yes?
No, I was just going to second it, but
Okay.
somebody beat me to it, fine.
Okay, in that case, there's no one opposed. So that motion is carried, and the second motion?
Yeah, this is within the EAD committee's authority. So that 16,000 that has been allocated from Area D Select funds be returned to the fund. That may be a bit presumptuous, that I'm assuming the board will approve of the first motion, but if they don't, then I guess I'll have to come back to EAD and ask for that 16,000 back. So, but I just as soon move it right now.
Seconded.
Seconded by Director Mack. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, 8.4, Upper Squamish Valley Park. Director Rainbow again.
I just, in conversations with Suzanne, I discovered all sorts of things about the Community Works Fund that I didn't fully understand before. Hence this flurry of requests to spend some of the money. And even after all of these, if all these things that I've put in are approved, I'll still have about $500,000 left. So it's not as though I'm bleeding the fund dry.
Okay. Hold on, I think Director Rainbow, I'm sorry, Kristen, were you indicating the question?
Sorry.
The last?
So, sorry, I was just holding up my sore arm, but
It
no,
looks like
sorry.
a very sore arm.
Sorry.
Okay, well, you probably should keep it elevated. Okay, I will ignore that from now on. Sorry to interrupt you, Tony.
So where are we with what the community have done up there is moved from a sort of almost an off-grid type of area where there was no communication, no cooperation. And they've moved from that in a period of about 6 years to having a really strong community feeling. They've got that fire suppression group going now that they work really hard at. And they managed to buy a piece of land, and on that land they're creating a park. They're building trails. They've got tons of volunteer time, donated equipment, and so on and so forth. And they were showing me that they wanted to build this this picnic center so it could be an outdoor community gathering space for summertime events, post-COVID events. So I asked them to give me a budget. This is the budget, $48,285, and I would like to move that this be referred to the board as a whatever I've said there. Yep.
Seconded by Director Demare. And Director Matt, comments or in favor?
No, it's a very good plan.
Okay, there's none opposed in that case, and that's carried.
Oh, okay. I think we probably need something else in terms of an agreement, but Melanie will tell you.
Thank you, Chair. This again is a third party, so we would need to also have a gas tax agreement executed between ourselves and the third party with authority to execute.
So I'll move that we enter into a third-party agreement with the Ashlew Foundation, which is the legal entity for their community association is called the Ashlew Foundation. So move that we enter into an agreement with them for the management of these funds.
Second.
Okay. Everybody in favor? Opposed? Carried. Kristen?
Can I just for clarification, Director Rainbow, is this, so this is the full amount up front or upon invoicing, or do you have a preference?
What's the easiest way for staff? It's probably, we have to account for it, for everything we spend. If we could do it by invoicing, if that's the preferred, whichever staff recommend, I'm happy with. Can that not just be part of the agreement?
Yeah, I think we should be able to include it in the agreement. And I think that Suzanne usually likes to manage to make sure that the funds are expended before we issue payment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Great.
So that would be part of the agreement that's already referenced. So we don't need to do anything further in terms of the motion. Okay. Okay, good. So
We can have a rest now.
8.5 is mine. Pretty straightforward. I would like to make a motion to contribute $500 from select funds, Area B, to the Lillooet Legion Poppy Fund. And seconding that, and everyone is in favor, I'm sure. No one is opposed. Carried. And the next one is a much bigger discussion. Funding for the Lillooet Recreation, Educational and Cultural Center. I'm just trying to figure out how we can increase our contribution. Now, I have to make sure I've got the right reference, so bear with me for a minute. Yeah, just looking through, and this is going to bring us back to maybe our need to review the PILT funding allocations, because I would like to increase what we're allocating from, as in this suggestion, general government and planning, to redirect some of that towards our recreation center, because I think that 1.12% that I'm seeing should be increased. That is my request. And I made a suggestion that it be increased by 5% and 5% from those two funds. But that is just something for me to try and have this conversation started. Yes, Director Rainbow.
Let me say first that I would agree. I like the idea of putting more money into things like recreation and so on. So I wouldn't argue against that at all. The thing that does come to mind with this is that this whole project, the whole PILT fund allocations, is due to be reviewed, and sort of the possibility of various types of shifts in terms of how it is expended. Part of the agreement that exists at the moment, for example, is that $14,000 a year goes to the Squamish Library. And I know a couple of years ago, I brought to the committee, I wanted to increase that, and it was pointed out to me that that was part of that overall PILT agreement, and to get in there and tinker with that one thing opened up a whole can of worms and wasn't easy to do. So in terms of the general agreement, I think that when we do review it and look at how we want to use that money going forward, this should be front and center as far as your concerns are, and that we should look at that. In the meantime, I would think that without changing the PILT agreement, without changing the percentages, that you could maybe provide some more money through your PILT funding as it exists. Or my question would be, having discovered that I can use community works funds for various things, is there a way that you could give a chunk of money from community works funds to do something at the rec center? So I'm not opposed to in any way to what you want to do. I'm just trying to see what is the best way forward at this time. Thank you.
Director Demare?
Yeah, Vivian, of course, recreation facilities like that definitely need to be funded. I'm just curious, does Area B have a tax requisition for the rec center? I never got a chance to look.
I'm sure that we do. I have no idea what it is. I probably could, I do have that in my pile of papers, but offhand, I'd have to take a 5-minute break to find it.
Yeah, because I don't think Area A has.
There are things though, like looking in this agreement, like we've got the Seton Portage Fire Service at a certain percentage, and that is somewhat in negotiation with things moving over to Shalath and the Seton Valley Fire Services. So that's been happening over the last year plus and continues to evolve. But it is a sort of another item there in our PILT policy that is needing to be updated. And why we picked the Squamish Public Library for a percentage on an annual basis, but we didn't pick, for example, the Lillooet Library. Like, I don't get this PILT policy seems to have, and there's a lot in here that's good and that I like and that I support, but there's also some elements of it to me that are clearly in need of tweaking, updating, and maybe made to be what I would consider to be a bit fairer. But yes, I would definitely like, yes, sorry.
No problem. I have no argument with you on any of those comments that you just made. This is old now. It was done in 2013. It's due for review. And the kinds of questions that you're raising right now would be part of that review. The advice I was given a couple of years ago was that we shouldn't be looking at one item in there and picking the one item out and making a change. That we should be looking at the whole thing. And it was due to have been done in 2019. It was deferred, and we were planning to do it in the first part of this year. The COVID showed up, and this is one of the casualties of COVID. It's been pushed back again. So this is something that we have to consider sooner rather than later, because there are some questions about inequities and inequalities and so on. But this policy, when it was done in 2013, was a huge improvement for A, B, and Lillooet from what there was previously. And
I get that.
There is a person that we could contact in an informal way who has a strong history in this, and I think we could probably rely on Director DeMeyer to contact that person and be fully briefed on it, because I'm sure that some information. Melanie, for your information, it was Director DeMeyer, the previous Director DeMeyer, that was largely responsible for having this policy brought through the board. So again, Vivian, I'm not wanting to sort of try to prevent anything that you're doing. I fully support what you want to do with recreation and so on. I'm just saying that let's do it as a part of the review of the whole policy.
Other comments? Yes.
Yes, I'm in agreement with Tony, and it totally needs a review again, because I've got some questions on the criteria for this PILT.
Russell, anything else?
No, I'll look forward to the review.
And would you like me to make a motion to that effect? I would like to discuss it at the EAD and then maybe make some recommendations to the board. Would that be something I could make a motion to for our future plans in our optimistic future? I'm looking to the staff, and I see Director Rainbow, you had a comment as well.
Well, could we have a resolution right now to defer 8.6 until the PILT funding is reviewed, because I don't want to lose sight of it. I don't want to just have it disappear. So if we defer it, then it will come back and be part of the review of PILT funding. Yeah, that's what I want to say. That it would be deferred and become part of the review.
Okay.
Right. So sorry, so brought back as part of the PILT discussion.
Yes.
Okay.
And is that, yes? Director Matt?
So what happens to your funding request in the meantime?
It probably is more along the lines of what Director Rainbow is saying, and I am accessing funding through the gas tax, and you'll see I have a pretty substantial ask later on this agenda. But that doesn't get at the sort of what I consider to be systemic underfunding by the regional district of the recreation center. So, but if we can look at that at some point when we get to the review of PILT, you know, before too many more months have gone by, that would be great with me. So I'm happy with this motion. Did you have another suggestion for me, Russell?
Nope, that's good.
In favor, opposed, the motion to defer that until we do the vote review.
Motion to bring it back with that.
Okay. Okay. Bring it back with the PILT review. Thank you. Correspondence for action. Request for funding. The Winter Festival Planning Committee.
Are you moving that?
Yes,
I'll
yes.
second.
From select funds, area B, $2,000 towards the Winter Festival and Plaid Friday, care of the District of Lillooet. That's the motion. And seconded by Director Rainbow. In favor, opposed, carried. And the next one is mine too. A motion to fund from Area B select funds to the Lillooet and District Rescue Society, $8,000. Yes, sorry, Kristen Clark.
Oh, I'll defer to our CAO. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to mention that that's actually a typographical error. You had requested to use PILT funds for that item, and it should say PILT funds there.
That's quite an important correction. I'm glad you're paying attention.
Sorry for that.
No, it's, I find it really difficult on Zoom to read the paper, follow the conversation and share the meeting. So I'm sort of getting to be a bit zombie already. And we've only been going for like less than 2 hours. Okay. All right.
And sorry, Chair, that will be a recommendation to the board as well.
So the motion should be to recommend to the board funding of $8,000 from Area B PILT funding to the Lillooet and District Rescue Society towards the cost of upgrades to the heating system in the building, a new front window, and replacing the transmission in their second response vehicle. So moved.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Mack. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Vivian, I have a question about that one. May I?
Yes, please. Yep.
When I was reading through that, this is quite a separate society from the Lillooet Fire Department. Is it like a search and rescue society, search and rescue organization? Or, so I'm just wondering where it fits. What I've just done in Area D is incorporated the Squamish Search and Rescue. We now have a cost center, so that they get an annual contribution to help them with their activities. And I'm just wondering if that's something that you might want to look at. It's not something that's going to happen in a hurry, but it may be something that you want to have in your radar for the future, that you consider the area that they cover, and that you have a cost center, you have a tax requisition which would fund them on a regular annual basis.
We do have a cost center for for the Lillooet and District Rescue Society.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
And that's part of the reason why I'm able to access PILT funding.
Okay, good. That's being helpful. I'm just wasting time.
No, I'm totally learning this as I go. Yes, sorry, Director Demare.
Yeah, we also have a tax service for it also. So we pay actually even a little bit more than Area B into it. And
That's because they have to go over Highway 40.
Yeah. So they, in the future, you know, I don't mind giving them a few $1,000s either for some of their upgrades. And I have talked to them, or well, not them, but Jeff Playfair, who's now living on Texas Creek Road, and they started a first response partnership SARS program with the Pepperton SARS. And down the road, and originally they were going to go with that road rescue, but it's not allowed. So down the road, I would like to look at something similar for our area, like a first responder SARS agreement with the Pemberton SARS also. But we don't have a tax requisition for SARS.
No, but they actually seem to be doing quite well accessing funds on their own, at least in this initial phase. So that's great, and that is a separate entity from this one.
Yes. Yeah.
And we need both of them. So is that moved and carried? Are we on to the next one?
I just asked the question after the yeah, and you've
Okay.
answered it. Thank you.
Okay. So now we're looking at the request for funding from the Lillooet Fire Department, the sprinkler protection unit trailer, and we made some really great grant applications on this that failed. So I just thought it's such a good idea and it is so needed. So I would like to recommend to the board that we fund $16,058 from Area B PILT funds towards the purchase of a sprinkler protection unit trailer for the Lillooet Fire Department. I'll move that. Seconded by Director Demare. Any questions, comments? Anyone opposed? Carried. They're going to be very excited about that. They've had a tough series of refusals from some grant funds that should have probably funded it, but they didn't. So the next one, 9.4, Director Demare, is for you.
Yes, as you know, Minto Communications is running out of bandwidth, and then the other piece of it is a lot of the funding that is available. You have to have 50 upload and 50 download and 10 upload, as you see in their request. And so what they're doing is this funding is to hire a consultant and to do a complete survey of their whole system. They've got about 4 towers scattered throughout little mountaintops here that get put out to the rest of the community. And some of their equipment is outdated to be able to do the 50-10. So that's what this is. They're going to do a complete inventory, looking at the towers, looking at the equipment, so they actually know what they've got and what they need to do to upgrade so that they can do 50-10. So I'll make that motion that that Minto Communication request funding of $4,680 from Area A Select funds towards the cost of the consultant to conduct a complete technical network review and provide recommendations to advance improvements to network capacity and broadband internet access at the Bridge River Valley. And the quote
I'll second
is, okay, thank you.
All right, that's moved and seconded. Director Rainbow, yes? Comment?
We not opposed to this. I just wonder how, I guess, question for Melanie. At the last board meeting, we asked staff to come up with a costing for a review of broadband throughout the whole regional district. So I'd want to see how this, this be incorporated. This can be done separately because it is a separate service, but I would like the results shared with whatever we do as a district as a whole.
Okay, through the chair, we'll take note and follow up that when the regional report and survey and study is completed, that this could be incorporated as one of the pieces of the big picture. It's a small piece of that big picture for the region, and certainly any data that's out there that would be of use, we would hope and expect our consultants to incorporate, and that would include this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, and there's no opposition to this, so that motion is carried. And the last one is mine. I'd like to make a motion that we recommend to the regional board funding up to $148,762 from Area B gas tax. And I was told by Arjun Singh we should be calling this Community Works Fund towards the upgrade of the HVAC system at the Lillooet Rec Center to improve the climate control as well as provide energy savings. Does that capture everything I need to? Yes. CAO Helmer, yes.
Thank you, Chair. This again is a third-party funding that you would like to provide, and so we would still need that same agreement as well.
Yes, and we've done one recently for the solar panels, so hopefully, so how do I recommend to the regional board that we have an agreement with the District of Center and the rest as the same? Will that be acceptable? Okay, I'd like to do that. Seconded by Director Mack. Any other questions or comments? Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Great. That's just great. Decision on late business. Now, where do we have your addition, Director Rainbow?
You probably don't. I did speak with Melanie earlier about this. She was. Did you send an email out, Melanie?
Yes, I did share this morning when we spoke.
Okay, you guys may not have had a chance to see it. Okay, so here's the situation. Number one, I'm not asking for any money today, so I'm not looking for a resolution to spend some funds.
Oh, sorry. I think I have a process problem. Yes. Should I?
Sorry. So can we first have the motion to the decision on the late business, and then Director Rainbow can discuss the late business as item 11.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to tell you what it was. Let me just say.
Okay, so just on item 10.
Mental health survey.
Okay, okay, we need to have, oh my goodness, we need a 2/3 majority vote. So first of all, we have to have a decision on late business on the mental health issue discussion that Director Rainbow would like to have. So we'll have all in favor. Opposed? No one is opposed. So we have a 2/3 majority vote carried. We can add that. So now we may go ahead. Go ahead, Director Tony Rainbow.
Really good. Thank you. So I'll start again. I'm not asking to spend any money today. I guess what I'm asking for is kind of suggestions on how to proceed. So here's the situation, and I will reference the RCMP report that we had earlier, the comments they made about mental health, which I thought were really appropriate and good timing. Yesterday, I got a request from Sea to Sky Community Services, which was addressed to me as chair of the board, which referenced just Sea to Sky, which would have been Area C and Area D. They wanted, and in conjunction with School District 48. What they want to do is a survey of youth throughout areas C and D. It's a questionnaire to try to determine what mental health issues there might be, and then having determined that, to develop a plan of how they might deal with them. So when I talked to her, I said, have you considered doing this for the whole regional district? Well, no, we haven't. And I said, well, if we're going to be involved as a regional district, then I would like to see it expanded to include Lillooet and areas A and B as well. Now, there's costs involved. She was suggesting that for area C and D, the cost would be somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000. It involves delivery of the questionnaires and collection and so on. I'm not quite sure how they plan to do that. But my question today is simply this. Are you in areas A and B at all interested in pursuing this idea? If you are, then I would propose that during the next couple of weeks that we communicate collectively with the Sea to Sky Community Services, and that we develop a proposal that we bring back to EAD in December. If you're not, if you prefer just to leave it with Sea to Sky, then I'll talk to Russell and we'll do it just simply as a Sea to Sky initiative. So that's my question today. Are you interested in doing it as a whole regional thing, or shall we just go ahead by ourselves? Thank you.
Go ahead, Sal.
So Tony, if I heard you right, this is for students?
Yes, youth. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think they necessarily have to be enrolled in school at this time. So, yeah, there may be some youth that aren't attending school that could be included in it.
Yeah, the issue up here, all we have is we got 10 youth in the grade 1 to grade 6, and that's all we have here. We don't have no teenagers that live here.
Okay.
Of course, in the summer we do have all the non-resident property owners, but they don't live here.
And I think crossing over into a different school district might perplex I'm okay with leaving it in C and D at the moment. I'm anticipating that it's complicated to come up into Lillooet in area B. I'm interested. I don't really think I maybe have enough information, but so I don't really have a solid answer either.
I thought about the school district issue. If Sea to Sky did a thing throughout including Lillooet and Area B, that they would accumulate some data which they could then share with I'm not sure what that school district is called up there. Is it Caribou Chilcothe or something, or whichever the school district is? I mean,
74.
If they were just presented with some information, then I'm sure they wouldn't say, no, we don't want it. So it would be useful to them in some way. Maybe. But it would also be useful to us as a regional district, in that if we have a picture of youth mental health issues throughout our region, we can try to address them in a regional way. I know it crosses from one health area to another, and that's one of the things with our regional district. We have different MLAs, we have different MPs and so on, but we are still a region, and I don't like to forget that. So that's why I've brought it to you.
Sal?
I'm just wondering if it's something that the health authority should be doing. Because I look at it, I know that new planning table that me and Vivian and Peter Bussey are on.
Right.
I don't know where it's going to go, but you know, this is maybe a topic for that table.
If Sea to Sky Community Services, if they were to do it, obviously they want to share the information with anybody that could use it in a constructive way. So it really is just a question of collecting some data that could be used.
There's incredible sensitivities around surveying in the First Nations communities. And are we talking like high school students or?
Basically, mostly high school students, yeah.
So a little more footwork would need to be done before I could really give you an informed answer. So I wonder if we can just follow it up, maybe when you have more information from the Sea to Sky people. And I could certainly find out if it was communicating with the current high school principal. But there's definitely some hoops to go through.
Oh, I understand that fully. I didn't want to go I certainly didn't want to rush to this meeting to ask for money. And I told Sea to Sky that all I wanted to do here was just sort of sound you out and find out whether there would be some interest. So maybe we could leave it at this, that I will get more information from them in terms of their timing and so on. And if you could maybe talk to the high school principal and I'll send you some more information, or I'll put Sea to Sky directly in contact with you. Because if they're gearing up and doing this thing with the secondary schools in the Sea to Sky, it's not much more for them to then do it in Lillooet as well. And it's information that you may find very useful, which you would find difficult to generate yourselves. You know, I'm looking at it in the same way as I looked at the food bank thing, that shouldn't just be a Sea to Sky initiative. It should include Lillooet and area A and B as well. So I'm on my regional district hobby horse here.
No, and Tony Rainbow, I really appreciate that you remembering that we are up here, A, B, and Lillooet as well. And thank you very much for that.
So I'll continue my conversations with Sea to Sky, and I'll copy all 4 directors on anything that I do, and then we'll move forward from there. Maybe something for December, maybe not until January. Okay, that's very helpful to me. Thank you.
Good with me. Okay, thank you. Director's notion. No, yes.
Sorry, just a motion to receive that late business report, please.
Also move.
Thank you.
Seconded by Sal DeMare. All in favor? Opposed? None. Received. And director's notice of motion. Nothing. Adjournment. There's some enthusiasm and smiles. All right.
Well done, Vivian.
Thank you.
Jolly good. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Yeah, same